The king did not knock. King Philip II of Spain smashed open his son's bedchamber doors in full battle armor, surrounded by armed guards. Not as a father, as a general leading an arrest. Prince Don Carlos woke to steel, torches, and the cold face of his own father. In that moment he understood. This wasn't a warning. This was a prison sentence. But this tragedy didn't begin that night. It began with his birth. Don Carlos was born in 1545 into the powerful Habsburg dynasty, a family obsessed with keeping their bloodline pure. But purity came at a cost. Carlos had only 6 great-great-grandparents. A normal person has 16. Generations of uncles marrying nieces, cousins marrying cousins, had turned the royal family tree into a genetic trap. And Carlos was its victim. He was born with a misshapen skull, uneven limbs, and a jaw so deformed he struggled to speak. His mother died 4 days after giving birth. By the time he was a teenager, his body was twisted, and so was his mind. Carlos terrorized servants, burned animals alive for amusement, and once forced a shoemaker to cut up and eat his own boots for making them slightly uncomfortable. The court was terrified of the future king. Then came the final humiliation. A French princess, Elizabeth of Valois, had been promised to Carlos as his bride. But King Philip changed his mind and married her himself. Carlos was forced to watch the wedding. From that moment on, his obsession turned into madness. He stalked the queen, left disturbing gifts, and spoke openly about revenge against his father. Then, in 1562, he fell down a staircase and fractured his skull. Surgeons drilled into his head to save him. He survived, but whatever sanity he had left did not. Carlos became paranoid, violent, and convinced everyone was plotting against him. Soon, spies reported something worse. The prince was planning to flee Spain, gather enemies of the crown, and return with an army to overthrow his own father. Philip faced an impossible choice: save his son, or save his empire. On January 18, 1568, he chose the throne. Carlos was arrested and locked in a tower. No trials. No public explanation. For 6 months, the prince wasted away in isolation. He refused to bathe, raved at invisible visitors, and slowly rotted alive. At just 23 years old, Don Carlos died alone in his prison room. And then, the king erased him. Portraits burned. Letters destroyed. Records edited. It was as if the prince had never existed. But history has a strange